In this episode of the Yoga of School podcast.
Season 2, the boat's on the water.
Healing the inner child. Humble yourself a little bit.
I've always believed in school that there has to be some authentic, organic element of what you're talking about. Wellness in a high achievement culture. Gratitude is the pathway to devotion. When you're feeling it, it's easy.
Season 2.
Hey, we're back. We're back.
We made it, bro.
All right.
We're on the other side.
Yeah. So, we started the Yoga School podcast last spring.
Yeah.
We were committed to getting back to the classic school calendar, which was to not do stuff in the summer. So we took a break with the pod, and that gave us, I think, some space for reflection.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're back for season 2.
Yeah, I'm proud of us. I'm proud of what we accomplished.
Yeah.
It was awesome. And that summer break was nice too. I think honoring that cycle gave us both time to reflect and kind of just let the season 1 digest.
Yes.
And kind of see where we're at. And I even came to you and I said, hey, do you even want to do this again?
Yeah.
To which you replied.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think also the break helped just to have that pause point and that reflection piece. Because we had an idea and then we started, and then like all things in life, I think once you start something, it's maybe going to take you to some places that you weren't expecting to go to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the serendipity, the joy of it.
Yeah.
And so, hopefully we can extract those pieces and feed them forward and kind of do a version of the same with season 2.
Yeah. I look forward to seeing what happens here, because it's really we're not trying to script the unfolding. We're trying to allow it to happen. And we're fortunate to have some really amazing people in our lives that we have access to that came on the pod.
Yeah.
So would you mind recapping some of those folks? And
yeah, let's do that. Let's go
just
real quick. I mean, our 11 followers are clamoring for this, right? We got started, and we did, I think the first 3 were you and I talking, right? Just sort of laying out these ideas that we wanted to talk about, not from this complete expert point of view, but really an exploration point of view. And so we used our school as the starting point, and we had this idea of the yoga of school. And by yoga of school, I think that idea of kind of yoking things and ideas that are paired and connected and seeking for a balance. And so we went through that sort of things that we were concerned about: the very high work rate, the high focus on extrinsic rewards, the high focus on very, very complicated outcomes to get things like admission to elite university. And so we explored that, laid that out. And I think where it ultimately landed was this idea of wellness in a high achievement culture. We're not looking to change the culture. Well, we are looking to change a little bit the culture, but we know that we can't change the underlying fundamentals of the world that we're in, independent schooling. But we also believe, I think, that wellness is not an add-on, or shouldn't be an add-on. And I think in a lot of places, in a lot of schools, it is. And then what's it look like if it's not an add-on? I don't know if that resonates with you, but that's what I was taken from that kind of opening suite of 3 episodes that we did.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it too. We're really looking at wellness in this academic, and I would even kind of broaden that to like a corporate or industrial system, right?
Yeah.
They have these employee assistance program that provides wellness, and they have outside providers providing wellness. But why do they do that?
Yeah.
And the thing is, the data says
you get 3 free appointments.
Yeah. Yeah. Go take care of yourself and come back to work.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. But the data shows when you practice mindfulness, people are less sick. They're not calling it sick, so productivity stays up. That's one of the things that we can talk about. But it's this wellness piece. Success without wellness isn't success.
Right.
And I'm gonna stand on my thing and say no, it's not.
No.
If you're not well, then what was it worth?
Yeah.
Yeah,
so we laid all that out, and then we had a sequence, and this was a fascinating part of it, where we were just blessed to have different teachers.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they were teachers in school, and sometimes they were teachers, yoga teachers, through different relationships that we had. And this series of teachers came on in different episodes and talked about the practice of teaching. And because obviously in school, teachers are fundamental, right? They're fundamental, and I think there's a lot of questions now about what is the role of a teacher
Right.
in the AI world. The role of the teacher has changed a lot in some ways, but maybe at its heart and its root, not changed so much. And super interested in that. And so, just to run through the list, we had Susie Crosser come on, Kimmy Wolf, who's
Hmm.
kind of helps with our sex education at school, intimacy education, love doctor,
Yeah,
uh,
relationships.
Cesar,
Hmm.
from a more yin, mindful yoga place,
Hmm.
really powerful Memorial Day show.
Hmm.
Sarah Montrose,
Mm.
we're both Sarah
Yeah.
Montrose.
Yeah, that was just
Um,
so good.
yeah, and then finally from our school, Ingrid Gerling, our choir teacher, who
Hmm.
just produces incredibly successful outcomes in an atmosphere that's infused with wellness.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely. She's amazing, and the way that she manages her classroom and develops relationships with kids, her results are always high, and I
yeah,
think it's a function of all of those things.
yeah,
Yeah. She has some really powerful thoughts, and yeah, share the one that kind of influenced this
yeah.
school year for
Because
you.
this is sort of a hinge thing, and
Yeah,
this is that summer reflection piece.
and
So,
surprise.
and exactly. So we're talking, and it was at the very end. It's sort of like the press conference where it's kind of stopped, and then there's that one question at the end that opens everything back up. And I don't think it was intentional, but that's what happened. Because I remember she asked, "Hey, how we doing for time?" And we
Hmm.
say, "Hey, we got a few more minutes." And then it spun forward one more time, and she reflected on we at our school. Like a lot of schools, we gather data, data on the student experience, data on the faculty experience, data on the parent experience. And one of the things that I like to say is we're looking for every kid to have 1 + 1 + 1 + 1. It's one of my bumper sticker maxims. And by that, we want every kid to have a friend. We think that that's important. We want every kid to have to be part of a group. We think that part of becoming well in the community, becoming part of it, involves that group affiliation.
Hmm.
We wanted every student to have an administrator that they feel comfortable talking to.
Hmm.
Sometimes those conversations are difficult, but we believe that we can do that in a frame that's restorative, authentic, caring. And then the last one was an adult who knows them well. And we get data on that. And I'm very proud about our data. We're way up above the 90s, in the 90th percentiles around students affirmatively asking the question, do you have an adult that knows you well? And so I'm kind of cruising along on my frame and feeling, okay, good, we're getting what we need. And Ingrid goes, that question on the survey, what if it was every teacher? you know,
Every student.
what if every teacher knew every student?
Mhm.
And that's obviously super aspirational,
Right.
but yeah, why not? Was the question I asked myself all summer, and I couldn't shake that. I
Hmm.
couldn't shake
What would be
that idea.
possible? Yeah.
Yeah. And I put it in my mind because I'm like that. I'll just ruminate on things. I put it in my mind every student every day, but that sounded too much putting them in a box and
Mhm.
every young person every day. And then it just landed at kid. And I know that for some people, kid's not a good word, but for me, I think why I came to like it was there's a youthful, I think, connotation in the word kid. And like a not going to put you in a box place. And we're at that place with these young people where they are they're young, and sometimes that youth gets squeezed out,
Yeah.
right? And I wanted to try to access that energy of just somebody that was at that stage. I mean, I try to be a kid in my 60s, but that had that kind of flow. I don't know if that's making sense, but it was what spoke to me, and that's in the opening meeting with the faculty. That's what I talked about. I talked about Ingrid. We played the clip, and I said, "Hey, I know this is aspirational, but hey, this is what I'd like to us as a group to try to go for."
Yeah, I think that was amazing, and it made me feel really proud that almost the theme for this new school year kind of was a seed that Gerling planted in
Yeah.
podcasts,
Yes.
and it had you think about that. And I think, if from my perspective in faculty, it landed.
Good. I hope so. I hope so. I felt it did.
we're looking to expand the minds of our students, but the faculty as well,
Oh yeah,
right?
hearts and minds.
Exactly. So
Absolutely.
then we're getting ready. We're in the professional development week, and you said, what if we thought about our children in this way every day, every child, every kid? What would be possible? And I felt the expansion happen in there.
Yeah.
And then the next question of our intelligent faculty is how? How does that happen?
Yeah.
And do I have the space? And then we start working through the nuts and bolts, right?
Yeah.
But just the expansion of the thought. And it's been great because I've been in several meetings since then, and I've acknowledged other people, or other people have said, hey, this is that other every kid, every day piece.
Yeah.
This child right here, this experience, this situation needs that sort of vibe.
Yeah.
And it's become now kind of a
Kind of
thing.
infusing out
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
So that's been pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, that's humbling, but that's also kind of what you're hoping for. I think
Yeah.
I've always believed in school that there has to be some authentic, organic element of what you're talking about. Like if you're just running the same script every
Yeah.
day, every year, every day, every year, people see through it,
Mhm.
and so you have to kind of have some patience, some willingness just to let that idea conjure up.
Mhm.
But in my experience, when it does, it can be pretty powerful because it's not just your idea.
Right.
It's really something that maybe can get in a more collective space.
Yeah.
And it can be maybe a little bit messy. But I think people are called to that. And in teaching,
Yeah.
there's so many things that are banging away at that calling, chat groups and
Mhm.
email
Mhm.
and maybe probably some extra meetings that
Mhm.
could maybe have been taken care of in an email. But at its heart, I think the teachers that we're looking for, the teachers that we're working with, they want that as well. They want to know all those students. Um, all of them. And that's even the ones that drive you crazy because
Yeah.
those are probably the most important ones to know.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You're experiencing that right
I am.
now.
I am. And I'm leaning into it.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate your support. There's always in a classroom environment, there may be one or two outliers behaviorally that are going to push your boundaries and push the boundaries of the class and the expectations. And those kids are stars in their own right.
Yeah.
There's so many quotes about this over time, but the rebels and what they've done,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And no, like there's a one in the feminine space about a woman who's a rule follower versus not. I can't remember it right now. You can. And
Yeah. That well behaved women rarely change the world. I
yes,
mean,
it's the same thing.
well behaved anybody, but for sure women,
Right.
right? Because it's
Yeah.
all the,
And so it's like the first thing is to like resist that and push it out or wanted to separate. But if what would it be like if you embraced it and leaned into it?
yeah.
What changes for you? What could change for the kid?
Yeah.
And that's really cool.
Yeah, I know when I read it when I was young, young guy teaching high school English. It was in an English journal article, and it was about the shadow student.
Mm,
And sort of the article was written from a Jungian point of view about, hey, maybe those students that are really frustrating you are just triggering your shadow self,
yeah.
and that I didn't know very much about. I still have a lot to learn about that idea, but um, got me looking into it, and it really made sense. It made sense to me that, hey, I had sort of created a frame, very binary, like these students are with me, this student is against me, because it usually wasn't a lot, but there was always one or two. And then the fact that I could usually get most of them to be with me kind of fed the the separation of
Yeah.
those that were not, that had not accepted the wisdom and the grace and all the other things that I was offering the world. And this spun that a little bit. And hey, maybe what they're pushing on wasn't me necessarily, but they're pushing back on the world. They're wanting to engage in the world in a different way. And what's triggering in there, I don't know that even that word was that much used at the time, is stuff that can help you, that you, if you really can get with it, it can help you move forward.
Right.
And then if you can find that compassion and that empathy, then just sort of bring that all back into that learning space.
Hmm.
Hard to do
It
for
is.
sure, but
Yeah.
there's if we're willing to learn, there's a lot there.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm willing to learn, and I love the challenge and the growth that comes from it.
Yeah, and we talked about it last year on the pod, but the class that Bhavin teaches in our school is we've set it up for the ninth graders. We call it Life Skills, and it's our place where we are trying to get real about all these ideas and give the students an experience that would give them some tools to to be well. Things like breathing, meditation, movement, circle time, and real conversation. And like all things in life, there are many in that eighth to ninth grade transition that are ready to drink deeply, and then there's some that aren't there yet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
They're all trying to find their place in the totem pole, and their
yeah,
brain development is doing a certain thing,
yes,
you know.
yeah,
So yeah, I want to come back to that the kid within us,
yeah,
and in the healing world, in yoga, the yoga healing world, and some of the other modalities that we use is like we have to heal our feminine side. That maybe work with the mom
hmm,
or our partners, or we have to heal that dad wound, or it could be your dad, or it could be passed down generationally.
yeah,
Have you heard some of this?
yeah. But talk.
Yeah. And then there's one that's often overlooked or forgotten about to be included in the conversation is healing the inner child.
Yeah,
And what that looks like is bringing play back into our life.
yeah,
I think as adults start adulting and they get sucked into the adult industrial complex, as it were, they forget about play.
yeah,
And oftentimes we are gifted, if we're lucky enough to have a child come into our life that we get to practice playing with,
yeah,
and not to make them become an adult and teach them all the ways, but they're here to teach you to how to play again.
yes,
And I've personally experienced that, and I've helped others experience it. And I think there's an opportunity here as
mhm,
well, right?
yeah,
Because one of the things that I see adults fail at is when they're talking down to kids, and they're from this literally
yeah.
higher perspective, and they're just telling the kid what to do. They're not having a really good
Yeah.
effect, right?
Yeah, my favorite manifestation of that is Charlie Brown's teacher.
Yeah,
You never hear any actual words, but you
exactly.
just hear this like droning,
It's perfect.
authoritative voice,
Yeah.
right?
But then what happens when the teacher takes a knee and eye levels with the student?
Yeah,
The conversation, the mud disappears, right? And the conversation flows, and you're connecting with the kid, and they're sharing ideas with you, and your ideas that you're trying to share with them are being received,
yeah,
and it takes that humbleness to take a knee,
yes,
right?
yeah,
And metaphorically and sometimes physically, but it's about connecting with that inner child so we can play. So now when we come back to that idea of every kid every day, a lot of that's going to be humble yourself a little bit.
I think so. Yeah, humble yourself, soften yourself, have enough confidence to do that. I think that's a huge one. That hey, if I release this kind of traditional authority, if I release that authority, is that going to open up something more powerful, or is that going to be a problem for me? And I think for a lot
That's
of
a
people,
fear.
okay, I kind of know doing it one way, therefore, but I do feel a lot of our a lot of our folks are looking for that as well, and are when we're doing it right, our school can provide that opportunity. We talk a lot about the experiential stuff,
Hmm.
um, arts, the athletics, because I think that's very much happening there. But more and more, but the classroom piece too, and most learning theorists would say that it's play is a very powerful way of learning. So when you squeeze that out of a learning environment, like, hey, what's going on with that? Right?
Yeah. It's so important, like you said. The teachers um, have a really dialed in way, especially our teachers, of they're successful at what they do. They're
Yeah,
here because they're really good at what they do. But there's still that piece of confidence that you assume that a teacher has because they're standing in front of a class and talking to a group of students, but they're almost hiding behind it sometimes. I'm not saying all of our teachers
yeah,
are, but I see a lot of general teachers kind of hiding behind this idea.
yeah. Just unpacking that thing right there. I mean, I think it's. I mean, there's something absurd to believe that 20 other human beings are going to listen to you and hang on every so I mean there's maybe something too high
Yes.
behind like
Yeah.
this thing is a social construction at some level. So I think that's interesting, but that it's true they would listen, the they would listen to the mentoring piece. And to some level, they'd probably, and I think Ingrid was talking about this, they'd listen more to the heart dimension and the personal dimension than they would necessarily to the disciplinary dimension.
For
Like, oh,
sure.
wow, you really know a lot about chemistry. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
that's great,
Yeah.
But at some point, how can you help me understand my life?
Hmm.
And I think a school like ours, we're looking to kind of release that capacity,
Hmm.
and get people to take that last step. And then the other thing about play, when you were talking, that I was reflecting on was, and I think it leaps back, it's not performative,
Right.
right? And so that whole thing about assuming the mantle and being the teacher,
Hmm.
to some level, is performative, and we all do it in our roles,
Yeah.
and we're all, how authentic can we be up there? And I know for me, going into this year, I had different things that I could talk about, and I said, you know what, I want to talk about that heart dimension. I'm going to talk about the
Yeah.
standards and the benchmarks and the flipped classroom and all these other wonderful things that we could talk about. But before we got into that, I wanted to start with right here. And that's, I mean, I guess maybe I've been always a little bit on that side of the continuum, but with each year, I just post up
Yeah.
more and more
Yeah.
over there.
I didn't tell you this, but I really loved that I was there when you spoke about that to the students and to the teachers. You know,
Yeah.
you brought that in. The way you did it was it was eloquent. You waxed it.
Yeah.
You
Thanks, man. Yeah.
know.
When you're feeling it, it's easy,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and
Yeah.
kudos to you for feeling it and doing the
Yeah.
work, right? You know,
Yeah.
there's lots of ways to open your heart, and I find that yoga is a really accessible way to do
Hmm.
it.
Yeah.
And it's not so like you take a yoga class and all of a sudden your heart's open.
Yeah.
It's a practice, and we've talked about
Hmm.
that in the other season of podcast. But the practice of yoga and coming back to it and integrating it into our lives as a system slowly begins to decalcify the heart and opens it up. You know,
Hmm.
and then it gets open.
Right.
It's open, baby, and
Yeah.
it stays open. It wants to be open.
Cracking that thing
Yeah.
open. Yeah. Do you think, I mean, I hadn't really thought about this before, but this idea of healing the inner child
Hmm.
connects to this theme that we've been talking about the obsession with, or the focus on, external outcomes. Do you think that to some extent the system has got sort of crosswired, where there's these young people are doing things, seeking rewards that, I don't know that it's consciously about healing themselves, but it's going to make them better or make them
Hmm.
whole, and it's probably doing the opposite. Is
Yeah.
there anything in that, you think?
Absolutely, because all of the great wisdom and embedded in the noble truths is that we're not on a, a path with a finite destination,
Yeah.
which is the performative result.
Yes.
We're on the path for the path itself, the
Yes.
experience of itself. So when you have a child who's at a child's age, there's play that's appropriate for each stage,
Yeah.
and to wipe that away and focus on an adult given outcome is to ignore the inherent
Yeah.
natural stage that you're at,
Yeah.
and you then will create a trauma,
Yeah.
and you'll have to come back around at some point or not,
Yeah.
right? And the opportunity is
Yeah.
there. I believe that.
Yeah. The universe is saying there's time. We'll spin your unresolved stuff forward in some other energy
Yeah.
capacity.
I'm
Yeah.
just what's coming up for me is what's possible if you specifically ask teachers, what would it be like if you
Yeah.
played more in your life, played more in your classroom? And I can just imagine like
Yeah.
what? What are you
Yeah.
talking about?
Yeah. I think the schedule move we made could, you know, facilitate that in a way. That's probably the biggest technical thing we did at school,
Mhm.
was I think we got to a collective awareness piece that the way we were running the factory model that we were
Grinding.
running was just, 8 periods, 45-minute periods, kids just cranking through all these different activities every day, was leaving everybody exhausted.
Hmm.
The parents exhausted, the students exhausted, and the teachers exhausted. And so, made the big move. Props to the CAO, really, who drove this, was, hey, we got to get to a different configuration. And so now we have a schedule that has the learning space for each class is much longer, kind of less meetings, but longer time. That, I think, could facilitate that play. Because I think when you're really in a hurry, It's really hard to play when you're in a hurry,
Yeah.
but you have a little more time, then there's room for that. I'm
Yeah.
hoping.
I love that. I
Yeah.
want to give props to her too on making that change. And I think I can already feel the difference.
Yeah.
And we're just now finishing the first full week of school,
Right. Yeah.
and I think that it's palpable. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
I can feel that it's not as hot
No.
right off the bat.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh man, that's such a relief.
Yeah.
And then now we have people talking about, hey, I could do some yoga.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then we're throwing this idea of like, what would it be like to play, and what does play look like for you? And
Yeah. Well, that's a way. Yeah. I mean, I didn't know this, but you shared with me this morning that there's a petition going around to have you teach in the school day from the adults, and I think, hey, what great leadership on that theme is just what beautiful form of play, and
yeah, it'll probably be something I work in once we get that
yeah,
up and rolling. Is just
yeah,
play and having a little fun with it,
yeah,
bring some lightheartedness to it.
yeah.
But
Come as you are, kick the shoes off. Don't
yeah,
need to, get into Lululemon and all this other
yeah,
stuff. What you really got to do is just get on a mat.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and let yourself go for a ride.
yeah,
Um, I want to touch back to you had said something about the senior sunrise. So every
hmm,
year in our school, the seniors get together for their first day of school
yes,
and witness the sunrise, which I think is a beautiful,
yeah,
sacred sort of thing to do, anyways.
yeah,
And I love that it's part of their tradition. And there was this photo with a group of them, leaning like this on the
yeah,
concrete barrier overlooking the whole campus and whatnot.
yes,
What came up for you when you saw that?
yeah. I think those are kind of two separate uh, things. So the senior sunrise, boy, I want to say that we started doing that 3 years ago.
Okay.
It's not a long time Audi tradition, but I think it was came out of a space of um, us doing so it's kind of mimetic, right? Us doing things that other schools did. Each year it gets more robust, and what I love about it is that quiet time together before it all really does begin. And everybody's kind of scurrying around and doing stuff and showing up, and the students haven't necessarily seen, they all haven't seen each other. So there's this incredible human emotion of that. But to have it transact up on the top floor of the parking garage, we've got that view of Houston, the sun coming up there. There's all this natural thing happening that we probably don't pay enough attention to. And there is a moment where we kind of get everybody to make the photo where all that chatter and interaction stops, and then it's just us together
Hmm.
and it's them together, and that calling forth space. Hey, you guys are who you are. Like, you are, we talk about it, you are a class, so they have their own energy, they have
Hmm.
their own destiny together. And I love that moment of just kind of holding that, like,
Hmm.
and there's teachers up there with them as well, the sage folks with food and coffee, and it's not a long period of time. Maybe the goal is just, maybe we can spread that moment out a little bit, but the fact that we're having it and it's, manifesting itself, I think is pretty powerful. So that was one. And then the other one that I think you're talking about, this was in our school, the high school kids start on Thursday, and then we add the middle school kids in on Friday. And I was walking across the campus center crosswalk, and it was middle school lunch, and I saw that group of middle school students up on the third floor, just looking out, and behind them, it's been raining a lot, so there's been lots of thunderstorms. So behind them, there were these huge, massive, cumulus clouds, all this kind of energy, and they were just calm, and they were just looking, and there was so much optimism to me, right? That day one of school feeling, if you
Hmm.
can get through the fear of getting there, and we put a lot of energy into making sure that everybody feels welcome on day one. If you can punch through that place, then it was just like, what's in front of us here?
Hmm.
And I think it was their vantage point and the sky behind. I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, and that heart's, hey, this is what we're looking for. And
Yeah.
okay, we're not going to have this every day, but God bless that it's like here right now, and
Yeah.
that's what everybody is. That's what they're coming for, right?
Yeah.
They're coming for that promise. They're coming for that possibility.
Right.
Yeah,
That's beautiful. Yeah.
grabbed it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I love that.
yeah,
I think I came back around and said, hey, this could be our senior year too, right?
yeah,
How would we be different if we thought
yeah,
that we were going to graduate this year?
yeah,
Would we? And I would immediately interjected, let's have more fun.
Yeah.
Let's just straight up have more fun and do more things that we want to do.
Yeah.
The net result of that is just going to be we had a great year.
Yes. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, you can't go wrong with that approach, I don't think,
Yeah.
as long as you maintain your professional duties, of course.
Yeah. But yeah, you're in, we put these markers on, like your senior year, and
Yeah.
then so we flow all this resource to it. But at some level, that is its own construction. And like, yeah, what if you approached every day with that? This this is special
Hmm.
because it is special.
It
Yeah, I
is.
mean, what we have is
Yeah,
super special.
it
Yeah.
is. We don't take time enough to do that. I remember a teacher said, "Have you looked at the sky today?" It was a simple question. That
Yeah.
of course there's a sky above us, but did you actually take the time to even look at it?
Yeah.
And ever since then, I take the time to do it at least once a
Yeah.
day, right? And it
Yeah.
reminds me of how small and
Yeah.
precious this life is, and how vast and beautiful the universe is.
Yeah. I mean, this past week it's been absurd if you're looking up in the morning, Jupiter,
Yeah, yeah,
Venus, Saturn,
yeah.
Castor, Pollux, it's all going on there right
Yeah,
now.
yeah, absolutely. So as we what's coming up for you now? What are some
Yeah.
ideas and things that we're kind of leaning in towards, perhaps?
Yeah, things I want to think about, and you kind of pinged me on both of these. You sent me this very chilling kind of Instagram thing about AI. AI expert predicts 15 years of dystopian future. So um, I think we've both tried to find ways to kind of get with the AI thing, but I do feel like there are very serious implications as well, and there is a dark side. And so, without getting all alarmist about it, I do want to explore that because, I mean, you sent me that clip, and then the question, if this is true, what should schools should be doing? And I wrote back, survival skills,
Yeah,
literally, right?
yeah,
Like,
that's what came up for you, like straight
yeah.
up survival
How do you,
skills.
how do you build a homemade water filter? Or
Yeah,
how do
right,
you, can some corn? I don't know. And I mean, I'm joking about it, but at some point, yeah, what are we preparing kids for?
right,
What should we be doing?
right.
We can't assume that everything is going to be the way that it is. So that's one, and then I think connected to it was that other um, link you sent me about this school where students had just spent, I want to say like a 24-hour. It was a middle school, I think, middle school or high school. So in our space, not something that you have to go to Guatemala and have a shaman experience about, but somebody just in a school where the students completed a 24-hour uh, kind of sightless, soundless rite of passage, right? And they had a photo of a student coming out of that. I'm thinking, wow, like, hey, I'm not sure I could do that myself. Thought about it, but the intention of creating that kind of experience for the young person. What's going on with you? Because you sent them to me. I mean, I know how I both of them sort of boom hit me real. Um,
Yeah. What's going on with me? Well, I consider myself a techie, and I do follow what's happening in tech. And I love to see the expansion of tech. And obviously, we're in the AI boom, and it's been happening. And these AI tech folks who have created and work in that space are looking at where these lines will end up going.
yeah,
And there's a few couple of options, and they're not looking so good,
yeah,
for a lot of humanity.
yes,
For the tech and the rise of machine and AI thinking, it's looking great.
yeah,
But how does that serve the humans who
hmm,
created it?
yeah,
So I love this conversation that we're in the podcast about what would a potential future school look like that serves the needs of humanity then,
hmm,
because the school model we're in now serves an old model.
yeah,
So there's this opportunity for it to be reinvented
yeah,
to meet the new needs of a technologically supported humanity.
right,
And it's just a question. So survival skills. If some of the things that they're predicting will happen, if some of these things go the way they are, unchecked and so on, we do need to address survival skills.
yeah,
Bushcraft, hunting, farming, sustainability, just simple survival skills.
yeah. Like, how do you function on the planet?
Right.
and we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I do love that inquiry, and it's, I'm a father too, so I'm
yeah,
thinking about my son and his future,
yeah,
and what will the world look like, and how can I support him now to set him up for success.
yeah.
And so I'm always kind of thinking about that as I continue to be a parent. And I got really emotional when I saw that kid. So he was in a cave without light and sound and communication from the outer world for over 24 hours.
Hmm.
There's versions of that experiment or activity that you can do that's like 3 days or several days where you're fasting, there's no human interaction, or you have, food sent to you, but you don't ever get to talk or
Hmm.
interact with anybody. And you can see it. There's this channel on Instagram. That's what they do. They provide these experiences and they film people's experiences, if
Hmm.
they're willing, when they finally come out into the sun, into the
Yeah,
light, and remove their eye mask. The overwhelming response is tears and emotion because life is so beautiful.
yeah. It was so tender. Just the
Yeah.
footage of
Yeah.
that
It
young
gives me
man.
chills thinking about it. But it's like they are reminded by the beauty of life itself through their sight,
Yeah,
and the beauty of sight, and our senses, when they're taken away for so long, you finally then appreciate what they're giving you.
yeah,
When something that we use every day is taken away, we then appreciate its value,
yeah,
you know.
yeah,
And so why wait till something gets removed from your life? Why don't you start appreciating it now?
yeah.
Well, that's one possible way to approach it,
That is.
and so the experiment is to teach people, like, wow, this life is so beautiful. The kid was 15, and he thought what his summary was that he just kept thinking about his parents and how grateful he is for
Mm,
them and all the stuff that they did,
yeah,
which is amazing and beautiful. And I hope my son does that at some point, um, on his own. And I feel like he would, but that's cool.
yeah. No, it's way more than cool. There's so much in that. I think uh, the time, the time and the space to be grateful, right?
Yeah.
And what's Marlon say? Gratitude is the pathway to devotion,
Mm,
right? And then that parental relationship, that parental responsibility, that parental imperative, and yeah, there's a lot of static sometimes in the you know parent-child interaction, but at its heart, done well, done with intention, it's this incredible gift, and to be able to understand that and to receive it and to communicate that back, like
yeah, powerful.
super super powerful. Wow.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you're hitting some chords, man.
I
You're hitting
know.
some chords.
Well, that's the goal.
Yeah,
That's the goal. I'm excited about this next season, and we have
yeah,
some prospective guests
yes,
lined up that
yeah,
are going to be interesting to talk to,
yeah. We're
for
gonna have
sure.
our same approach, right? Sometimes the two of us talking about it, and then sometimes reaching out to friends of the pod to bring other perspectives. So I know in September, one of our Audi parents, Dr. Kristen Bazzotti, who's a consultant in the corporate kind of corporate DEI and leadership space, has agreed to come on. So
Awesome.
really looking forward to that.
Cool.
And so some of these themes that we've been exploring in our context of school, I think she can kind of pick that up and look at that in terms of the corporate workspace, the adult
Looking
workspace.
forward to that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, well, I want to take this opportunity to thank all of our listeners, all of our subscribers. We are on Spotify and YouTube, and we have quite a lot of views on Instagram. And
yeah,
I want to acknowledge you and thank you from the bottom of our hearts, that we really appreciate that. If you have any feedback, criticisms, or questions or ideas that you'd like us to explore, we are all open and willing to hear those.
yeah. Just so much of that. I feel so much of that is that we're putting it out there, and when it comes back, however it's hitting, whatever ideas it spins up, that is really the fuel for us. I think in some ways to take it forward, and that's where it can. We're seeking to create some kind of community with this.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. We really are grateful for any feedback. We love when we hear a parent say, "Hey, I was listening to this on the way here, and it got me thinking about this," and that's amazing.
yeah,
The fact that we can touch and be a part of your life. So we are really grateful for every view, every watch. Please like and subscribe and share, as much as you want to. That's authentic to you, because it only helps us grow and continue to share this mission of a heart-centered,
That's it.
Conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. All right. Season 2, the boat's on the water. Namaste.
Namaste.